Screen share. Zoom in a bit so it's a little big for us, and I'll just get rid of this thing here. So the assignment is typically number 3. In the book, they said this will be fun. Attorney Martin discussed the scope of anti-Black racism that she faced while at Western University. In a 8 to 12 slide PowerPoint presentation, identify at least 3 examples of anti-Black racism she had faced. The examples that you use must be a mixture of both overt racism and microaggressions. What does the audience learn about anti-Black racism through her experience? Okay, so this is a PowerPoint presentation where you're going to identify at least 3 moments of anti-Black racism she experiences, right? And also you're going to talk at the end, you're going to discuss the idea of what does the audience learn about anti-Black racism through her experiences. Okay. When evaluating this assignment, I'm looking for the following. For knowledge of content, I know that I can identify at least 3 examples of anti-Black racism in the book. They say this will be fun. We're in conversation. That's when I meet with you. You show me your outline, rough draft, give some feedback. You tell me some stuff. I give you a mark based on that. Thinking, use of planning skills. I know that my PowerPoint should use concise, point-form information rather than long sentences and paragraphs. So an important thing that we do a PowerPoint presentation, I'm not looking for you to write an essay. If I want an essay, I'll say, write me an essay. PowerPoint are short, concise information that's told to the audience versus longer paragraphs and sentences that is reserved for essays. I know that my slides should be visually appealing and use appropriate images. Simply means that use the template for proper template and color scheme for your PowerPoint slides. And you're going to have images. If you're going to talk about anti-Black racism, make sure you have images that represent what attorney is talking about. I know that I have to identify times in which the author experienced overt anti-Black racism. At least 1, no more than 3. So you have to tell me one time, at least once, where the author has experienced overt anti-Black racism. Second one, I know that I must identify in which the author experienced microaggressions. That says macroaggressions, should be micro. At least 1, no more than 3. Again, same idea. Give me an example of 1, but no more than 3. So basically, when I'm putting this out, it means that some people are going to do 2 overt, 1 microaggression, or 2 microaggression, 1 overt, right? But it's geared for, you have to have 3 points for your PowerPoint. I know that I must use quotes from the book to support my examples of anti-Black racism, which means that if you have your book, you need to quote your book as sources so that when you say she experiences that, you can have it as evidence that she talks about in her book. Okay, expression and organization of ideas and information. I know that my PowerPoint presentation must use proper spelling and use language that is clear and concise, which means it's proper spelling, it's short, it's sweet, and it also doesn't confuse anybody. Last part is the writing process. Everyone knows the deal here. The deal of the writing process is to make sure that you're putting outlines and rough drafts, getting feedback, and adapting, taking that feedback, and then making the next stage of writing better. So when I give you an outline, I give you suggestions, I expect to see those suggestions implemented in your next draft, because those are the things I'm telling you, hey, to make it better, you need to do that. That's part of the observation process. Okay, so having said all that, so much talking. Let's look at the success criteria. So the goal is to identify anti-Black racism, to identify different types of anti-Black racism, to be able to provide evidence and defend an argument and develop critical thinking and research skill. So it's about making an argument, having an opinion, backing it up with facts. So read the book. You should have read up to chapter 6 or 7. You can do more reading to find evidence. So basically, what I've just assigned is up to 4. If you get to chapter 6, that's great. But from what you've read, should be enough information to talk about anti-Black racism within your PowerPoint presentation. You can do more reading to gather more to find evidence. So if you think it's not enough or it's too slim, keep on reading, right? Okay, so next page, next step 2 is the take notes or gather research. So what you need to do is you need to gather research. You need to identify moments of anti-Black racism. Anti-Black racism means actions and treatments that have a negative impact on the lives of Black people. Should find overt and microaggressive behavior. So overt are direct and clear actions of anti-Black racism, right? So calling someone the N-word, telling Black people to go home to their country, threats and physical violence towards Black people. Those are overt. They're straightforward, they're clear, the intent is clear, and it can be violent. Microaggressions are subtle comments and actions meant to degrade or develop a person's based on their race, which is touching a person's hair, asking where they're really from, not wanting the person to perform stereotypical acts, monitoring, watching a person, policing their behavior, tokenism. So basically, all those things are examples of microaggressions. They're not really in your face. I mean, they're there when they happen. They're not really that coercive, but after a while, it just adds up, right? So if everyone keeps on making a joke about where I'm from, after the 20th time, I'm gonna get upset because I'm tired of hearing that joke. So same thing here. When you're choosing her experiences, you should answer the following questions. Again, these are questions that you would ask and make notes on to prepare for your PowerPoint presentation, which is number 1, what is happening? 2, what type of anti-Black racism is happening? Is it overt or microaggressive? What is the evidence used to support your position? Quotes from the text, and then choose 5 to 10 incidents, and then choose 3 or more to use in your PowerPoint. So the idea is that you're going to talk about a bunch of instances, you're going to look at them all, but then the 2 that I think are struggling the most, the 3 that you use that have the most information or make the best argument, you choose those 3. Okay, the outline is the following, goes following. First page is an MLA formatted tile page. If you don't know how to do an MLA formatted tile page, please check on My Willow, download How to Write Academic Essays. It will show you what a tile page looks like. Next slide, what is the purpose of the PowerPoint presentation? So you're going to tell us the purpose, you explain what the purpose of the PowerPoint presentation is. Again, the idea of identifying anti-Black racism. The statement will be based on the sentence, or you might change it a bit to fit into the way how you say things. When reading through the experiences of Attorney Martis, the audience is left with the idea that anti-Black racism is, and then whatever you want to say, is real, is inherent, is problematic, is whatever you want, but you've got the ability to say something specifically addressing the statement. And the statement is supposed to disprove, the statement is meant to prove your point, right? And your reasons are supporting the idea of supporting the positions taken by the PowerPoint presentation in its description of anti-Black racism within Canada. Okay, so remember that I always go, when you talk about points, we rank them 1, 2, 3, and then when you put them in an essay, you go 2, 3, 1, which means you go from your middle point, right? You go to your sort of weakest point, and you end with your strongest point, and that's how you would argue create an essay. Same thing goes with a PowerPoint, again, to keep people's interest. So slides 4 to 6, you want to have the second strongest proof of anti-Black racism, right? And then you're going to make a statement. What is anti-Black racial experience that she has? Then you're going to find evidence, quote from the book, and then you're going to explain why the quote that proves the statement. And you're going to do that for scenes 4 and 6, 7 and 9, 10 to 12. Okay. So you're going to gather information on that on those situations, right? Slide 13 is the statement. Discuss how the information above proves your thesis statement, and explain why thesis statement is important in understanding how to combat anti-Black racism. So the idea is that once you've established in your thing that she experiences this, and you're saying the last part is to establish that you're correct in proving your point or proving the author's point, right? And then also the next thing you need to do is talk about why his statement is important in understanding how to combat anti-Black racism. Like why is what we're doing here and what she's doing here, how's it used to stop anti-Black racism? Okay, are there any questions?
So we can make a PowerPoint and
yeah. So remember, so it's not long sentences, it's bullet notes and about those issues.
okay. So do we need to do like the graph or anything?
I don't know if you need to do any graph. I think you can, for your own gathering of notes, I think you need to sort of sort that out so you can figure out what you need to do. Like I would make a chart definitely to answer these 3 points, and then I would, make sure that I follow the success criteria structure here, right? I would even copy and paste all of it on a Microsoft Word, and just delete the instructions in between, and then that's where you put your information in, and then you show that to me, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, about finding the quote. I'm supposed to do that. If I'm listening.
Okay. You're listening to it. Does the audiobook give a text example? Like does it have, this has audio or does it have both?
I guess the audio.
Okay. I would basically, when you think of a quote that's interesting, bookmark it on your audiobook, and then when you need to write it out, put it on its slowest speed, audio speed, and listen to it, word to it, and record it, and write it down.
Okay.
I don't suppose your computer has text. I don't know if your text to speech works on your computer. Sorry, speech to text. But if you can figure out if that works, then basically you would just play your audiobook and it should write down what it says. But I think the best thing to do would be to simply just, if you think it's a good quote, bookmark it anytime you hear something really good and important. And then when you want to listen to it again to see if you're going to use the quote, listen to it at normal speed. And then when you know you have to record the quote, slow it down so you can get every word. And then you have to hit pause. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the recording.